Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel MSR Info Technologies. In today's session, we'll be discussing with you how to handle null values. So, suppose you have a data frame or else a CSV file or some file. In that file, if you are having null values, be it for a single column or else for multiple columns, how do you handle those null values is the topic for today. Alright, so let us start. So here, right, if you see this scenario, I have started working, I have created data and I'm having few columns. Okay, so this is the data and these are the columns which I'm having. So this is which method of creating data frame? This is nothing but if you want to explicitly define your schema is nothing but for a particular column. If you want to explicitly specify its data type, you will be using this kind of schema. Okay, this kind of structure. So by using this method, you will create a data frame. So in order to get to know this in detail, right, you can watch my previous video. I have explained you in detail about how to create a data frame using two different methods. Okay, you can just go through that. All right, so here basically what are we doing? We are trying to create a data frame out of this data. Okay, we are using this particular data and this is the structure schema I am taking. This is the explicitly defined schema or else customized schema. So using this, I will try to create a data frame. All right, okay, so make sure that you have created your cluster. I have created my cluster NSR Infotech and it is up and running. All right, okay, so now what are you doing? You're trying to create a data frame. So what is the way to create a data frame? Spark dot create data frame. You will be sending data and schema. So if you see here, data is what? This is something related to employee related data. And then schema is I am manually, like explicitly, for this column I want this data type, for this column this data type. That thing I'm explicitly specifying. Okay, if you see here, salary is a integer column. Okay, so like that, if you want to explicitly define any data type to a column, you will be making use of this kind of method. Okay, these are the methods which are available in our PySpark SQL. So you will have to import those particular methods in order to use it. So if you don't import it, you will be facing errors. Okay, so let me just try to execute this one and show you how the data frame is getting created. Again, what is a data frame? Data frame is nothing but you can organize the data into named columns. Okay, so here it could be any file which you are pointing to, which you are trying to read, or else it could be also some sample data. If you see here, this is a sample data which I have taken. All right, so now this is my data frame. This is the data frame. Df is the data frame which is holding this information. Okay, if you see here, this concept is regarding handling null values, right? If you observe, for each and every column there are few values in a record which are holding null values. Okay, which are null. That means we have not explicitly specified values and they are holding null values. So how to handle those null values, we'll be seeing now. Okay, so basically we have two different functions. One is null function and the other one is not null function. Okay, so when do you use what? Is null function, when do you use? If you want to filter records based on the null values, like for any specific column. If you see here, these are the different columns, right? These are the different columns. So on to this columns, if you want to filter null values, okay, suppose if you are pointing to any specific column, okay, if you are pointing to this middle name wala column, and if you try to apply this is null function on this particular column, what will happen? You can filter only those values, only those records which are having null values. Okay, so that is when you will be using this is null wala function. So when do you use it? If you want to filter on a specific column or else on multiple columns. Okay, if you want to filter on a column or multiple columns, only those values which are having null values. Remember, it is used to filter rows with null values or none values on the column specified. On whichever columns we are specifying, on that, if you want to filter the records with null values, we will be using this is null wala function. Okay, so let us see how to implement it. So where do you use this is null function? You will be using it inside the transformation of filter transformation. Okay, so here this entire data is captured in a data frame which is df, and df dot filter. If you try to apply on this particular data frame, if you try to apply filter, right, so I'm trying to apply the filter on this specific column. Okay, on this specific column which is a middle name column, and I want to see what all records are there which are having null values. Okay, only I'm specifying a single column which is holding null values. So what you give, data frame dot filter and data frame dot column name. Here I'm choosing the middle name column. So on this particular middle name column, if there are any null values, then only those particular null values I want to display. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm assigning it to a data frame called as this one, and I'm trying to display this is null data frame. So let us execute it and see what answer we are getting. Okay, so if you see here, I have received 3 records which are holding null values under this middle name wala column. Okay, so if you see here, let us cross check 1, 2, 3. All right, so we have 3 records which are holding null values under this middle name column. So that is why we were able to see 3 columns. Okay, 3 records in this particular column. Clear, right? All right, so now let us go to the next one. Is not null. So is not null is what? It is just the opposite of null. Where for null you are retrieving only null related values. For is null, is not null, what you are doing, you are trying to retrieve those values which are not null. Okay, it is just the opposite of null. So here also you will be specifying a column on which you want to capture the not null values. Okay, other than null values, those whatever values are there, those values if you want to retrieve, you can retrieve it using is not null function. How do you use it? Similar to our null, it's just that instead of is null, you will be using is not null. Alright, so let me execute this one. See here, so totally how many records we have in the main one? We have 6 records, out of which 3 are holding null values and the remaining 3 are holding not null values. Okay, if you use is null, then you will be getting null values. If you use is not null, other than null values, whatever are present, those values will be retrieved. Okay, all right. Now let us see the next one, which is if you have in your particular scenario, like if you want to drop null values, okay, be it in a specific if you have multiple columns and if you want to drop those null values, you can make use of this drop NA. So when do you use this drop NA? Like if you have any null values, and even though if there is any single null value, okay, for any specific record, even though if there is a single null value, if you want to drop the entire record, then we can make use of this drop NA. Okay, so let me just take a screenshot of it. All right, so now we'll just scroll down. Yeah, so here, right, let us see what our data is pointing to. So this is my data. Okay, this is the data which I'm having. So basically here, right, I'm using drop NA function. So using this drop NA function, what you can do, so here, right, irrespective of the column, if in a particular record, if you are getting null values, okay, in a particular record, even though if there is any single null value, those all records will be dropped. Okay, so let me execute it and explain it to you. See this. So if you see here, there is only one specific column where there are no null values. So that is why this particular record has not been dropped. But if you observe, all the records, first record, second record, each and every record is having one or the other null values. So that is why what we have done, so using this drop NA, any is one of the keyword which you will be using. So if you use any keyword, what will happen in a particular record, even though if there is any one record, any one column which is holding null values, those values will be dropped. Okay, that entire record will be dropped. So if you see here, out of 6 records, 5 records are holding at least one null value in a column, whereas 4th record Maria this is one of the record where we do not have any null values. So that is why we did not drop this particular record didn't get dropped. Okay, all right. So that is with a drop NA of any. any, using any keyword. So this is similar to this one only. It's just that if you don't specify any keyword, what will happen, we will see, it will give us the same output. Okay, if you specify any keyword, that means if there are any null values in a specific column, those particular records will be dropped. So if you see here, this and this are same only, these are meant to resolve the same purpose. It's just that here you are using df.na.drop. Here you are using df.drop.na and you are sending the keyword as any. Both are meant for the same purpose. Like in a particular record, if there is even a single null value, the entire record gets deleted or dropped. And the next one, so yeah, so now in this particular command, right, what am I implementing? Okay, this is the source file, this is the data which I'm pointing to. So in this particular data, I only want to drop those records. Okay, I only want to drop those records which are completely null. Okay, each and every column should be null, mandatorily null. If there are any such records, only then I want to drop those particular records. So if you see here, this sixth record is there, right? So this is the record which is holding null values for each and every column. So if I use this all as the keyword, that means whatever is matching this condition, that means if there are any records which are holding null values for every column, those values, those records itself will be dropped. Okay, so let me execute this one. So in our case, only one will be deleted, that is only the last one will be deleted. And if you see, all the rows, all the records will stay intact, those will be displayed, and only the last record will be deleted. That is when you use all as the keyword. That is the major difference between any and all. Any will only delete all those records which are, if it is satisfying any specific column, but all means it should satisfy all the columns null values. So here instead of taking different kinds of instead of comparing with the entire data frame, what we are trying to do here, we are explicitly specifying onto which column I want to check if there are null values or not. So if you see here, I'm specifying the subset as gender. That means the column which I'm trying to specify is gender. That means what it will do, it will explicitly go to that specific column, gender column, and it will see what all null values are there. So only those particular records it will be deleting. So in our use case, if you see here, I have 6 records, out of which 2 are holding null values. So only these 2 specific records will be removed and the other 4 will be displayed. So let us see that. See here, only those which are not null have been displayed and those which are holding null values have been deleted or dropped. So that is with respect to the subset. If you explicitly specify the column name, that is what happens. Okay, it will only go to the specific column. It will see if there are any null values present. If there are any, then those records will be dropped. Now here you have seen how to specify a single column. Now let us see how to specify multiple columns. Okay, so this is how you will be specifying it. You will just separate it with a comma. Subset is equal to, if you just see the difference, right, here you have specified subset is equal to gender. Here you are specifying subset is equal to whatever columns you want, those multiple columns you will be specifying. Okay, so here I'm considering gender and middle name. In gender you have two records which are null values. In middle name you are having 3 records which are holding null values. So once you execute it, let us see what all records you will be getting. Okay, so let us just check here. I have a gender column which is holding 2 null values. Okay, so this is the common entry. This is the common entry, so this record will be deleted. This is also the common entry, so this also will be deleted. So if you see here, Rose will not get deleted, Annie will not get deleted, Mary will not get deleted. Okay, because these are not having null values. Okay, so basically using this, if you want to delete null values from multiple columns, this is how you can specify. So this is also another way, just one more additional column has been included here. Okay, so if you see here, id is also one of the column which was included here. So if you see, obviously the last record will be deleted, this record will be dropped, and if you see id is null at Mary also, so that also will get dropped. Okay, so that is why we are only able to get Rose and Annie but not Mary. Why is that? Because Mary is holding null value for id part, id column. Now here if you observe what is happening, out of 6 records, 3 records, 4 records have been dropped if you are not specifying any particular condition. If you are directly giving the subset, like if you are directly specifying the column names, what is happening, wherever there is a null column, that is getting dropped, right? So if you are using this one, right, this is nothing but threshold. Okay, threshold, you are giving some value, that means explicitly you are specifying some condition. All right, threshold means you are giving a limit, it should not exceed this 2 value. If it exceeds, like I only want to drop those number of records, as many number of records as this is matching. Okay, like if your query is returning four records, okay, 4 particular records are matching this particular condition which are holding null values. So what you are doing, you don't want to delete all those 4 records, but you are explicitly limiting its threshold to 2. That means only 2 records out of those 4 null records, only 2 records will be deleted. Okay, so that is why if you want to explicitly specify the threshold, okay, threshold limit, if you want to give, you will be using this threshold as whatever value you want, and you can execute it. So let me execute it and see here, irrespective, if you see here, where is the gender column? Yeah, gender, id and middle name. So if you see here you are having a null value, but this is not getting deleted, and the other one is in the middle name, you are having this null value, but this is also not getting deleted. Why? Because we have specified the threshold as 2. That is why explicitly you are forcing your data frame, you are trying to filter those only records which are holding null values, but you are specifying a threshold. What is the threshold limit which you have specified? It is 2. So only 2 will be deleted and the other ones will not be dropped. All right. Now if you want to explicitly specify for a particular column, instead of null values, I don't want null to be displayed, I don't want this null keyword to be displayed, but instead of that I want some other value to be displayed or some other string to be displayed. So how do you display it? How do you write it? This is how you will write it. Syntax: df.na.fill. Fill is nothing but for whatever column you want, you will specify its column name, and along with that whatever value you want. So here I want this to be filled, this null value to be filled with fixed value. So it is just one string you want to substitute it with. So the moment you execute it in this particular column, not here because that was filtered, right? So in this particular middle name wala column, wherever you are having null, those will be replaced with this fixed value string. Okay, so let me execute that one and show you. So wherever you are having nulls, so in your middle name column, how many values you are having as null? 1, 2, 3. 3 values are null. So those 3 values respectively will be filled with fixed value. That is the string which you are explicitly specifying here. So it may not be a string all the time. It could be any value, like if you want to send as a 0 or else NA or whatever value you want, that specific value you can fill it. So by the way, this is for single column. If you want to specify for multiple columns, how do you specify it? What will be the syntax? This is the syntax. So you will have to first specify what is the value you want to substitute it with and what are the different columns on which you want to implement it with. Okay, so these are the different columns and this is the value I want to fill it. So let me just execute it. So only under middle name and last name columns, this fixed value will be substituted with. Okay, if you see here, only these two are the columns wherein we have substituted those null values with fixed value. All right, so this is how you can do it for multiple columns. Coming to the next one. So I have told you, right, like it may not be only of any particular string. You can also send some integer value. Like if you want to send 0 or NA, you can very well do that. So what you will be doing, you will be specifying value is equal to 0. Remember, here we are not specifying any condition. If you don't specify explicitly any particular column, it will be it will be given, it will be considered for all the specific columns, all the columns it will be applicable for. Okay, so the moment you execute this one, what will happen here, you are trying to fill it with 0. All right, so under each and every column, wherever there is null value, those specific values will be replaced with what? It will be replaced with zeros. So let me just execute it. See here, wherever there are null values, those have been replaced with zeros. All right. Okay, so now let us see the next example. So if you want to explicitly specify only for a specific column, how will you do that? You will just have to specify its column name like this. Value, what value you want to substitute it with, and what is the column, that specific column name you will be giving. Okay, so let me execute it. So here this will be effective only for this particular salary column. Okay, that is for 2 records. See here, only salary got replaced with zeros, null values got replaced with zeros. All right, so that is for one specific column. Now let us see for those specific columns which you want to specify it explicitly and also with different values. Okay, so you can explicitly specify different values, not only zeros. If you want whatever values you want, you can specify it. So how do you do that for multiple columns? 1 2 3 4 5 6 columns you have here. So explicitly I'm specifying for each and every column with the zeros. Okay, so you are filling these columns with the zeros. So what will happen when you display it? All the null values will be replaced with zeros for all these columns. Okay, so this is one way of doing, or else if you do not want to explicitly specify, you can just use this one, value is equal to 0, without having to specify columns. And then coming to the last one, if you want so in few cases you want to specify like few columns you want them to be replaced with a 0, few with some other values. Okay, like that multiple values you want to replace it with. So what you can do for that, there is a syntax for that. So just use this syntax, na.fill, just to specify whatever columns you want and whatever values you want to be replaced with. So if you want to replace it with 0, you can specify 0. If you want to replace it with na, you can replace it with na, like that. Okay, so different values if you want to replace it with, you can just go ahead and replace it. Just execute. All right, if you see here, middle name and id is na and middle name is na. Why? Because we have specified it like that. All right, so that is how we can handle null values. Like if you have any null values, if you want to drop those records, or else if you want to handle them appropriately by filling with some other values, so this is how you can implement it. All right, thank you for watching. So that's all for this session. In next session I'll be coming up with other topics, so please stay tuned to my channel NSR Info Technologies. If you have not already subscribed it, please do subscribe. Thank you. Have a good day guys. Bye.